Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. It appears the Biden family and its business associates created over 20 companies and received millions of dollars from foreign nationals while Joe Biden served as vice president of the United States, a possible indication of peddling influence in American politics. As we've long suspected, Hunter Biden formed at least 15 companies with his partners after his father became VP back in 2009. And now the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability has subpoenaed 4 banks as part of its probe. The committee, which held a press conference on its investigation today, released a memo stating that Chinese nationals with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, hid the source of outgoing funds by layering domestic limited liability companies to cover their tracks. Here's a clip from that press conference today.
The bank records show the Biden family, their associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their companies. Some of that money came from a Chinese company and went to Hunter Biden's company. Other transfers occurred with the help of Rob Walker, who then sent it on to different Biden family members. This is not how lawful businesses operate. Chinese nationals affiliated with the Bidens created limited liability companies in the United States and then in a short period of time transferred their interest to a Chinese company that sent money to the Bidens.
Joining us now to discuss is Congressman Andy Biggs, representing Arizona's 5th Congressional District. Congressman, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks, Kara. Good to be with you.
Great. So big day. You're at the press conference with your fellow committee members. How explosive are these latest findings?
Well, I think they're really dramatic. As we expand the investigation, I think what we're finding is that this thing is really broad and really deep. And I think it really has the potential to be one of the ugliest political scandals in United States history. I mean, because it all points back to one question. Was the sitting vice president receiving funds for access or policy, or what was he doing? Why was his family getting this money? And it's a complicated web that they created to try to hide this funding. But we've been able to find a lot of it, and we have a long way to go to unravel that ball.
That we do, and I know your colleague, the Oversight Chairman James Comer, he actually has a very interesting quote. So talking about, the clip we showed talked about China, but also there was, I think, $1 million coming from sources of Romanian businessmen. And your colleague here, the Chairman Comer, he says, quote, "Well, Vice President Biden was lecturing Romania on anti-corruption policy. In reality, he was a walking billboard for his son and family to collect money." End quote. I was wondering if you could, talk about some of the irony in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but this is pretty typical of Joe Biden. I mean, he preaches one game, and while he's doing the exact thing that he's preaching against. So in the Romanian case, $3 million gets paid to Hunter Biden's partners, and then just like in China, a third of it gets distributed to the Biden family. And Kara, we're talking Joe Biden lecturing there, Joe Biden going to Ukraine, Joe Biden going to China, always lecturing about human rights, always lecturing about anti-corruption issues. And yes, it looks very much like while he's in vice president, while he's proposing that everybody else be better than he is, he's receiving these kind of payola, this kind of bribery schemes that are going on.
And he always talks about his upbringing. He wants to pretend that he has this, very working class, very regular Joe type upbringing. I think there was a clip people were showing from one campaign trail. Either it was for the second round of Obama, or maybe it was for 2020. I can't remember the last few years, but he was talking to people saying, well, I think I'm only worth about $50,000 to $150,000. So again, as you were saying, a lot of these lectures, and he's doing the exact opposite behind the scenes. I swear I'm just like the rest of you, and of course he isn't. So one big issue here is the idea of making money, unethically. So that's one allegation. But the other big one here is the influence peddling and how that affects U.S. national security, how it affects our interests. So, as you were naming here, some of these nations, China, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Oman, Romania, all these different nations, is again, the big fear here is that their private business dealings were actually having an effect on how Biden was governing as VP and now in the White House as president.